Alrighty. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 16, Herbalist versus Doctor, Friend or Foe. So, the question I'm answering today is, can an herbalist and a medical doctor work together? All right, and my answer is it depends. So, join me in this discussion on how I believe herbalists and doctors can work together and the areas where our philosophies may collide. All right, now before I begin, I just want to say that when I say doctor, I mean physicians in the medical community. Okay, I'm not talking about the medical system or the machine itself, and I am also not generalizing and talking about all doctors are this way or all herbalists are this way in the words to come. Got to put my little caveat out there. All right, now I am in the process of moving, so I'm trying to record this in the interim and make sure there's not a lot of banging and bumping around. I've asked my kids, try not to throw boxes up against the wall, but you may hear a box or two, and I strive always in everything that I do to be authentic, and it's just my life right now. There's a room on the other side of me filled with 4 kids packing up boxes, so we can move. This is the only time I have right now to record. It's the best time to record because I'm awake and spry and everything else, and I didn't want to sound dead and sleepy like I will be in about several hours from now. So you are getting the real authentic me. You hear a little bump and bruise, don't worry about that in the background, because I don't know how to get rid of it yet. I'm still learning all of this audio equipment and everything else, so bear with your girl, all right? Now, herbalist versus doctor, friends or foes. So let's get into this, all right? Now, first, let's take a look at how herbalists and doctors are similar, and then we'll take a look at how we are different. And this understanding is important when talking about building or even starting what I would call a healthy partnership. And so in this partnership, we both have some strengths and we both have some weaknesses that we can use to help impact both of our clients for the better, keeping them in mind. So in the areas of, the knowledge of the human body, where the herbalist might be lacking a little bit, the medical doctor can step in and educate and advise as needed. And in those areas of plant medicine and observational assessments, where the medical doctor might be lacking knowledge, then the herbalist can kind of step in and educate and advise as well. All right, so first let's look at how we are similar. How are we the same in some respects? Number one, commitment and education. Okay, commitment to education, I should say. All right, both of our professions require that we have a commitment to ongoing education. All right, medical doctors continually update their knowledge based on the latest medical research and advancements. And similarly, herbalists, we stay focused on botanical medicine, and we make sure we stay abreast of what new advancements are with that and plant properties, the ever evolving herbal practices and knowledge about the human body. We kind of stay abreast of those things as well. So we both have a strong commitment to education. It's a lifelong journey, and we both understand that, especially in the human body, because things are always changing, always changing. Another thing is we are similar in our diagnostic skills. Now, in the world of herbal medicine, we don't say diagnose. We tend to leave that to the medical doctors as far as that word. We tend to say assess. All right. And so while we assess and they diagnose, let's just use the word diagnose for the case I'm presenting right now. We may not diagnose the same way, but we do have a system in place where we assess whatever potential illness might be in front of us. Okay, and so both of our organizations or both of our careers require strong diagnostic skills, not just, going off the fly. You really have to make a strong assessment of a person's situation, so that way you can start to talk about how you're going to address that. In herbal medicine, is very important and dangerous if you misassess a situation, and in the medical community it is very important and it's dangerous if you misdiagnose a situation. Okay, Now, in the medical community, they tend to use medical diagnostic equipment, tests, okay? Herbalists, we tend to rely on our observational skills, patterns of the symptoms, and we assess overall health in order to make informed decisions. All right, another way we are similar is our patient or client-centered approach. Okay, typically we say clients, we don't say patients as herbalists, but we both share a commitment to the well-being of the client or the patient. Okay, a lot of us got into this, field because we have a genuine compassion for the human being and making sure that people are well, and if they get ill for whatever reason, they can bounce back and be able to have a good quality of life. Now, how we address the illnesses and things like that. Like I said, the avenue to get to health and wellness for medical doctors and herbalists is a little different, but the end goal is health and wellness. All right. Now, we are also similar in our holistic perspective. Now, as far as herbalists, we've always known this. This is just kind of like one of the bricks in our foundation. But what you're starting to see now with a lot of physicians, you're starting to see a lot of them now starting to promote the treatment of the whole person. They're starting to look at the entire being and the systems that are around that person that are impacting their ability to be well. And so this involves considering various aspects of a person's life, including their lifestyle, what they're eating, their emotional well-being, and then, like I said before, what's in their environment. Are they stressed out all the time? Are they in abusive relationships? A lot of medical doctors are really starting to take that into consideration. And again, I'm not generalizing. There were probably always some doctors out there that thought like that, okay? That kind of stepped outside of the box. All right. And last but not least, how we are similar, evidence-based practices. Okay. Now, while the standards for evidence-based practices may vary, okay, between us, we seek to prove and have evidence for what we're talking about on both sides. Now, on both sides, okay, there's your, I don't know any other nice way to say this, there's your bag of nuts, okay, that are, extreme and just shoot stuff off of the mouth, no proof, no evidence. This is on both sides. Okay, I've seen it on both sides. And people are looking like, what? They have no proof. There's no evidence that what they're saying is actually factual. They're just shooting stuff off at the mouth. And people know when you do that. Okay, people know that when you do that. And we're living in an era right now where everybody's researching. Everybody's Googling. Everybody's reading. So now people are like, you ain't gonna be able to get over, with the okie doke on us. We are actually paying attention. So as a medical doctor or as an herbalist, we understand the importance of making sure that whatever practices we do, there's some evidence behind it. Okay. Now, there are some medical doctors that will say herbal medicine, there's not backed by science, and there's no scientific evidence of this or that. And that's just simply not true. Now, herbal medicine being backed by science, it just depends on what you mean by the word backed. Now, is the American Medical Association saying, yes, I support herbalists, I'm going to put a seal on them? No. But is there scientific studies done on plants? How they interact with the body, the human body, and all of that? Absolutely. Hundreds of thousands of millions of them. Okay? And so we as herbalists can use that information to kind of guide how we develop our medicinal protocols. All right. Medical doctors rely on, clinical trials and scientific research as well. And they use that to establish their medical protocols. Okay. Now, herbalists, we do rely on scientific research and clinical trials, but we also look at traditional knowledge as well as what we see. That's always important. But the value of scientific research, it supports that herbs are both safe and effective. And because of that, that's why us herbalists have to pay attention to that scientific research as well. Just as much as the medical community, if not more. Because we tend to have to prove a little bit more than they do. All right. Now, obviously, we're not all the same. we do share some differences. So let's look at some of our differences. Number one, the philosophy of healing as a whole. Okay. Medical doctors often follow, as they say, an allopathic approach, and this involves treating the symptoms and diseases using substances such as pharmaceutical drugs. Okay, now they are adding on additional things to address illnesses as well. Okay, this is just kind of one of those. Now, herbalists, we believe that the body is more capable of healing itself. Okay, if given the right conditions. And we also believe that getting to the root cause of the issue is paramount, and we only use symptoms as one of the tools on a map to determine what messages the body is actually sending, so that we can develop our assessments from that point and determine how we can best help the client. Because we're like, okay, this is what the symptoms are saying. Excessive mucus, could be inflammation, could be injury, could be parasites. So it kind of gives us a good idea of what's going on in the body. But we don't solely focus on the symptoms, okay? And we're not aiming to get rid of the symptoms. We are aiming to get rid of the root cause, because if you address the root, then of course you will address the symptoms. I always use that check engine light as an example of that. So if you just go into the car shop and they just keep cutting off the check engine light every time, but they don't address the root issue, then that light's going to come back on, sometimes even the same day. I've had that happen. That's probably why I keep using that as an analogy, because that has happened to me. I'm like, hey, did you fix this? Oh yeah, we fixed it and everything. Well, why when I drove off, I feel like an hour or two later, it came back on. Oh, there must be something wrong with your light, right? Well, come to find out, they didn't address the issue on the engine. So the light, what they did was they cut the engine light off, right? Thinking that, okay, if we can hide the fact that the signal is not there, then she'll be fine. But you didn't fix whatever's going on with my engine. So, dangerous, right? I don't want to go off on a tangent, but it's just dangerous. So we don't just focus on the light. We focus on the actual issue, because if we address the issue, then the light will go off. The symptoms will stop. All right? Now, another way we differ as herbalist and physician is in our view of disease as a whole. So in the world of herbal medicine, and you'll hear me break up disease, dis-ease, okay, rather than saying it as one word, because I want people to pay attention to the meaning of it. The meaning of disease means lack of ease. So that's why I say dis-ease. Okay? And so dis-ease is basically a lack of ease that occurs from the body being out of balance or out of order, which most people would say disorder. Okay, so the body is out of whack, it's out of order, it's trying to figure out what's going on, it's trying to repair, something is going on, right? So once you cease from being in balance, right, you get out of balance, it throws off everything else in the body, triggering a lack of ease or dis-ease, okay? Now, the other thing that we understand as herbalists is that disease just does not occur out of nowhere. There is a cause. So there is no need to get stumped about certain things because it occurs for a reason. It's just, what is that reason? And trying to take time to figure that out is key. Now, on the other side of that, in the medical community, the term disease refers to a pathological condition or part of an organ or system of an organism, which is us, resulting from various causes such as an infection, genetic defect, or environmental stress. In some instances, the body's efforts to heal and repair itself are often labeled as diseases. So let me give you some examples of that, okay? One example is fibrosis. Now, this is where the body forms excessive scar tissue in response to an injury or some form of inflammation. Of course, this hinders normal organ function, and thus it is termed fibrosis, okay? The disease of fibrosis. Another one is chronic inflammation. All right. And this is an example where the body it's the body's efforts to try to defend itself against some kind of harmful stimuli, parasite, bad bacteria, something like that. Okay. Injury. And if this happens, the body is continually attempting to, deal with that particular, we'll say, stimuli, right? This can lead to conditions such as inflammatory bowel disease or rheumatoid arthritis. Okay. And in these cases, the body's natural response, which is originally intended for protection, is now labeled as a disease. Okay? All right, now another way we differ is in our treatment modalities. Now, in the medical community, they say treatment. In our community as herbalists, we don't say treatment. Okay, we say assess or address, something like that. We leave the word treatment for the medical community. All right, now, medical doctors primarily use pharmaceutical drugs or surgery or other conventional medical interventions. Okay, that's how they treat disorders or disease. In our community as herbalists, we focus on the use of plant-based remedies. We look at the person's diet, their lifestyle, and ask them to modify certain things, all to support health and to balance the body back out. Okay, that's kind of how we look at it. Another way that we differ is in our approach to prevention. So medical doctors often focus on preventative measures such as vaccinations. Child, I knocked over something. Talk about my kids. Here I am banging around. And yes, I'm leaving it in here. All right. So how we look at prevention. Medical doctors often focus on, preventative measures such as vaccines and regular screenings or procedures and other lifestyle advice. All right. And in our field as herbalists, we prioritize prevention through natural approaches, remedies, herbal tonics to help strengthen and fortify the body, like switching up your diet, eating right for your blood type in some instances, and of course, lifestyle modifications to support your overall well-being. All right. Now, the big question is, can herbalists and doctors work together? And I already told you that we can. If so, then how? So this is how we can work together as herbalists and physicians. Okay? In order for it to be beneficial, these are the top 5 things that I'm going to recommend that herbalists and medical doctors should have in order to be able to work together successfully. All right? Now, if you are an herbalist that believes every single doctor in the medical community is a money-hungry, blood-sucking parasite, that is out to just harm and kill people, that cannot think outside of the box, that is beholden to a system that says kill, 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 kill. If you are an herbalist that thinks that way to that extreme, okay, that's going to impact your ability to partner with a medical doctor. On the other hand, if you are a medical doctor that thinks that herbalists are quacks, that they are uneducated, if they are snake oil salesmen, conspiracy theorists, the extreme insults that you can think about that medical doctors have said about herbalists. If you are that type of medical doctor that thinks that way, you too are impacting your ability to be able to have a partnership with an herbalist. Okay? So we got to think about those things in order to work together successfully. So let's look at them in more detail. So number 1, open, respectful communication. Effective communication is key to a successful collaboration. Herbalists and medical doctors should be open to discussing your client's cases, sharing insights, and providing relevant information to the table. Okay, mutual respect for each other's expertise is very important in fostering a positive working relationship. Somebody sang that song, RESPECT. It is very important. Like I said, if you come to the table with the mindset of something negative about that person, it is going to hamper your ability to be able to work with and for them, depending on the situation. Okay? It's going to hamper your ability to be able to have a successful relationship because you're just looking at each other like, I don't even know why I'm at the table. I don't feel like you can benefit or any of this. I don't feel like you can help at all. So if that's the case, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt us all, right? All right, number 2, patient, or as I say, client-centered focus. So both of us have to prioritize the well-being of the client first. Okay, we both have to have a commitment to providing the best possible care Therefore, as they would say patient, us we would say client, taking into consideration their preferences and individual needs, their religious beliefs, this type of thing, and use this information in addition to our assessments to help, create a good treatment plan, although we don't say treatment plan, but an assessment or a protocol to kind of help them. Okay, so if we are only focusing on ourselves and what we think is the best thing, and that is it, and not taking into consideration our client, and I may feel that way, but you as a doctor may not, that's going to be a problem. Because at the end of the day, it's the client, right? We do hold a certain level of knowledge. We do hold a certain level of expertise. But at the end of the day, we have to take the client in consideration. Their feelings, their thoughts, that type of thing. Number 3, education and understanding. Okay? A foundational understanding of each other's practice is essential. Medical doctors should have a basic understanding of herbal medicine, its principles and potential interactions. And herbalists should be aware of the conventional medical approaches, diagnostic processes, as well as pharmaceutical medications. And I know people are like, what? I don't want to do that. I don't believe in pharmaceutical medication. Well, whether you believe in them or not, the clients that you have, take them. The family that you seek to help, take them. Whether you want to believe it or not, it's true. Some people will tell you that, and then some people will lie to you. Oh, no, I'm not taking nothing, because they know how strongly you feel about them and people who take them. But as an herbalist, you have to be able to get that information from people if they are taking pharmaceutical medicines, which means you have to know about them. Because if you are recommending any type of plant, you would need to know how that plant and pharmaceutical medicine is going to interact. Okay? So that's very important. Same thing with the doctor. The doctor would need to know that so that they would understand how the plants interact with whatever pharmaceutical medication that they may be giving. No matter what you believe on the issue. And I have my own beliefs. Trust me, I do. I'm very opinionated in that regard. But no matter what you believe about the issue, the fact is people are taking pharmaceutical medications. Now, the ones that aren't, from an herbalist perspective, okay, fine. It makes it easier for you to recommend certain herbs because you know they're not taking them. But for the clients that do come to you and say, hey, I'm on blood pressure medicine, or hey, I'm on, a diuretic, whatever the case may be, they're honestly telling you these things, right? Then you need to know that and know about that medicine so that you're able to properly recommend the plant, and vice versa. All right. I think now you're starting to see on some of the intake forms at the hospitals, they'll say, are you taking any pharmaceutical medications or any plant-based medicines? They're starting to put those on the forms now because it's important. A lot of people are taking herbs. All right. Now, we were talking about education and understanding. So how can we use each other's education and understanding to work together? How can we use that? So let me kind of paint you a little bit of a picture. All right. Now, medical doctors often spend a considerable amount of time in school learning about the human body. Okay. They will spend anywhere from 4,000 to about 6,000 hours over the course of 4 years or even longer. Okay, to study various topics such as anatomy and physiology, biochemistry, histology, neurology, pediatrics, and the list goes on as it pertains to the body, right? Now, they also spend about 20 to 40 hours learning about pharmacology, all right, which talks about pills and medicines and that type of thing. And then 20 hours or even less. Now, this can vary between medical school, but 20 hours or even less learning about nutrition. All right. Now, in contrast to this, herbalists spend an estimated of 20 to 200 hours studying the human body. They spend thousands of hours studying subjects such as botany, ethnobotany, pharmacognosy, which is the study of plants and their medicinal properties, plant identification, nutrition, and herbal formulation. All right. Now, what does this mean? This means that in the area of the human body, studying all aspects of the human body, the medical community is studying it way more. All right. And in the area of nutrition and in the area of plant medicine and botany and those type of things, herbalists are studying it more. Okay? So the medical doctor can come to the table with that knowledge of the human body on all levels. Okay? Not that the herbalist knows nothing of the human body, but on average, most herbalist schools aren't really going in depth as much and as long as a lot of the medical schools. And I've looked at several herbalist schools, and they're missing several subjects. Okay? Now, why is this important? Having this knowledge of the human body and all that it can do, it just gives us extra, arsenal. So if I can just say that, it just gives us extra stock so that we can help people by having a solid understanding of the human body and how it functions and how it works. Long ago, our ancestors relied solely on what they could observe. And a lot of mistakes were made because of that. Now, am I knocking observation and saying you shouldn't do it at all? No. But not only do you know how to observe what's going on in the body, because you may not have all these books, right? But having that little extra knowledge on the function of the kidneys and why this is happening from a scientific standpoint can really help, propel your career as an herbalist. That's why you see, some doctors now moving over into a more natural way of being. And it's like they combine the knowledge of plants and they combine the knowledge of the human body. So in that aspect, the medical doctors kind of have that one up, right? And people might not agree with me, but it's just my opinion, my podcast. No, I'm just kidding, but it is my opinion. Okay. Now, on the flip side of that, we have more knowledge as far as nutrition. We have more knowledge as far as plants and plant medicine, a lot of which there are several pharmaceutical drugs, okay, that have their roots in plant medicine. So when we talk about medicines to be able to help people and things like that to address the issues that we may find, herbalists can then turn around and educate the doctors about plants, plant medicine. Because the reality of it is with a lot of the pharmaceutical drugs that are out there, they have a lot of side effects. They do. There's no way getting around it. There's no lie about it. It's just a fact. You go and read the side effects of a lot of these drugs. It's like, well, what are you curing? Yeah, you may knock out my headache, but now my leg don't work. And then when I take a medicine for that, and no sane, good-hearted human being wants to do more harm to their client than good. Again, the key word is sane, soft, good-hearted individual wants to cause harm to their clients. I really, really strongly believe that. Now, I'm not talking about psychos, okay? But you don't want your client being on this mill of pharmaceutical drugs and they're on the road to nowhere, except for being sick or even worse. So in comes the herbalist that can look at the chemical properties of the plant, that can have an understanding of the human body and the chemistry of the human body and how those two work together. It's a knowledge that is invaluable. And in a lot of countries outside of the United States, they're combining these knowledges. They really are. And it's a beautiful thing to watch because you know that whatever issue that person is dealing with, they have great information to be able to deal with it. They have top knowledge that is backing them and helping them and supporting them and creating, treatment plans based on that information. And they're getting better, So, I didn't mean to get off too far on that. But just having that knowledge, all right, on both sides is an awesome thing. And this combination can impact the clients in a very big way. All right. Now, number 4, the other thing that we must have between us is respect for our scope of practice. The reality of it is that we have to understand how far each other can go. Okay. Now, the physician is more regulated. I will give them that. Okay. their hands are tied tighter than ours. That's just a reality of it. So they can only go so far. All right. Not only, their expertise has certain boundaries, especially if they're specialized. You wouldn't go to an endocrinologist to, talk to them about the brain, right? That's not their function. So even within their profession, there's a certain level of, limitation that they may have. Like, I'm this doctor that only focuses on this, right? And I always say, as herbalists, we need to do the same, because I do like that aspect. There's so much to know. This is another side note. There's so much to know. And so it's like, wouldn't it be nice to have a herbalist that focus only on the brain? Imagine if you spend all your time learning about plants and all of that has an affinity for the brain. Think about all the issues of the brain that people have, and how that knowledge could really impact and really revolutionize that field. You know what I mean? I think that we should specialize. I'm an advocate for that as herbalists. I really am. Because we're not called to be the end all be all for everyone. And we can't. It's too many people. Too many people with various illnesses and issues. We need to be specialized. I think that would be great. So if you're an herbalist out there, or a new herbalist out there, I'm going to always preach specialization. I think it's important. And it prevents you from spreading yourself too thin. But we'll talk about that later in the specialization podcast. All right. But respect for scope of practice. There's limitations. As herbalists, even with us, okay, we have certain boundaries and limitations. So the medical community, or should I say the physician, should respect that. And then we as herbalists need to respect the fact that they can only go so far. Okay? Not get mad at it. It's a reality. Don't get mad at the reality. The reality of they can only go so far. Otherwise, they'll risk their license, they'll risk their livelihood. And some people, some doctors, they're tired of it, the system and all of that. Hey, I'll try whatever at this point. I just want my client to get well. I don't care. But then you'll have those other doctors like, I don't care who you are and what great advice you have as an herbalist. I'm not finna lose my bread and butter for you. I'm not trying to get sued or none of that stuff. So understand those limitations from the jump, and you won't be so upset. All right, if things can't merge together. All right. And number 5. All right. Number 5. This is, again, the things that we need to have in order to be able to work together effectively. All right. Number 5, evidence-based practices. Okay. The availability of scientific evidence supporting the efficacy and safety of specific herbal remedies is very important. All right. In cases where there is a lot of research on the effectiveness of certain herbs, medical doctors may be more inclined to even consider them as complementary treatments. So as an herbalist, yeah, you can get more buy-in from the medical community if you're able to show, look, there's research that's behind this. Now, some, they'll be like, whatever, I don't care. Then people, again, this is all about building a good, solid partnership. So this is somebody that's coming to the table that wants to. Okay? And in this want to, it's like, this is a further benefit of this relationship. There's evidence, scientific evidence. This is in the language you understand as the medical community, that this herb is not only effective, but it works. And this is how it works. And this is how it works on the body. This is the part of the body. Right? So those studies are in their language so they understand them. Right? So they'll be more inclined to consider them. On the other side, it's important for herbalists to have this knowledge as well, so that we can also show it for ourselves, that this has been tested and studied and there's been clinical trials on it. So that way we know that this is a good solid herb to use. And it's been proven to work to address this specific issue. So it gives us more confidence also in being able to use it, because somebody has gone into a lab and tested it, created it, and then tested it again. And then after all that, they did clinical trials, allowed other people to take it, watch them, document the results. Okay? And there are people that have done that. There's way more studies outside of this country in the United States than there are in that, or states within that have studied plants. But nonetheless, There's hundreds of thousands of millions of trillions of studies on plants. Okay? So we both have to have evidence-based practice, meaning that we're able to prove what we're talking about and prove the effectiveness of whatever we're talking about. And we use that information to create a complementary plan that includes both the knowledge of the physician and the knowledge of the herbalist. All right? So, of course, yes, I'll say it again, we can work together. No, it doesn't have to be an issue. Like I said earlier, I'm talking about a person-to-person level and not a systemic level. So systemically, the powers that be, they don't want herbalists and medical doctors to work together, and that's real. They don't. Okay? Whenever there's money involved and that is the focus, rather than the cure, then there's going to be an issue. Somebody's going to write a letter, somebody's going to get shut down. That's just how it goes, and that's not a conspiracy theory, it's a fact. It's happened to way too many people now for people to believe in, say it's some fairy tales. There's too many cases out there where that's happened. Okay? But in spite of all that, on a human and very real level, don't let the fact that that could happen stop you from collaborating when it's appropriate with those that hold a special set of skills and knowledge that could potentially change the course of your client's life for the better. Because everybody deserves to have a good quality of life. And rather than arguing, on who is the better person to ensure that to be, ultimately it's the individual. But the facilitators in the process, which are the doctors, which are the herbalists, we should work together on certain things where it's appropriate. And keeping the client and their health at the forefront of any decision that we should make. But we should not get involved with arguing with each other, browbeating each other, because it serves no one. And the clients are like, you know what, I'm tired of the bickering and arguing. I just ain't going to do nothing. And that's not the outcome we want. All right? So if it is appropriate, then yes, doctors and herbalists work together, write books together, do conferences together, where it's appropriate. All right? Let's try to raise the vibration of humanity and bring more positive and peace and love and healing to the world. Because I know that's why you got into it, Dr. So-and-so. I know that's why you got into it in the first place, herbalist so-and-so. So let's do this. All right? Now, if you like what you've heard, please stay tuned for more informative podcasts. You can hear this and future podcasts on Spotify and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Also, please follow me on all social media sites at The Demystified Herbalist. And if you're looking for some herbal products to help you address your health needs, head on over to my website at thedemystifiedherbalist.square.site. And until next time, family, I'm out.